Good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome. Thank you for having us here at Wellborn Elementary this morning. Good morning to my board colleagues, Dr. Stubblefield, to all of our staff and any guests that are with us this morning. Thank you for joining us. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. It is Tuesday, May 14th, 2024, 8 a.m., and we'll call our regular board meeting to order. As we do at every board meeting, we'll read our board norms and protocols. We agree to respect differences of opinions in making decisions for the district, to follow best practices in managing the superintendent and the management of the board itself, to stay on task when conducting business for the district, including while at board meetings, to never surprise the superintendent or each other when conducting official business of the district, to read these norms at the beginning of each board meeting and at board workshops as a reminder of how to conduct our meetings, and to continually self-check to determine if we're following our norms when conducting district business. Again, thank you to everyone here at Wellborn who is welcoming us and inviting us to be here. Principal Cheney, Vice Principal Brownlee, we are so grateful for you and all your staff and all of your little ones who are making space for us today as we invade your school. But thank you for being so welcoming to all of us this morning. And thank you to all of our staff, Ms. Smith, to all of our IT staff and media staff who were able to pull all this together so that we could have our meeting here this morning as well. So thanks everyone for your flexibility and for making this happen. With that, Ms. Smith, would you please do a roll call?
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, present.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, present.
Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, present.
Robert Mylan Jr.
Robert Mylan Jr. present.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Wanda Brownlee Page, present.
Rachel Russell. Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve today's regular agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Ms. Smith, roll call.
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, yes.
Robert Mylan Jr.
Mylan Jr., yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell. Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And before I continue, I do just want to remind folks, I do see that we do have our interpreters available today. We do have interpretation in different languages, including Spanish, Burmese, Karen, Nepali, and Swahili. If anyone needs any interpretation, we do have that available. Si necesitan alguna interpretación, aquí tenemos diferentes idiomas y personas para interpretar en diferentes idiomas, incluyendo español. So if you do need an interpreter, please let someone know, raise your hand, and we'll make sure that you get an interpreter today. All right. Thank you. So with that, we will jump right into our agenda. First on our agenda are our awards and special recognition. And I think today, Ms. Smith, we're going to start with item B, our Elementary Teacher of the Year. So we'll welcome Dr. Sutherland to the podium as we introduce this item.
President Randy Lopez, Vice President Maxine Drew, and Dr. Stubblefield, Superintendent of the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools, and all who serve on the Kansas City, Kansas Public School Board. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I am April Sutherland, and I am so honored to stand in front of you today. I am here so you can recognize, and I would like for her to come forward, Ms. Hannon Master-Harakas. She has been named a semi-finalist for the 2025 National Teacher of the Year Award. Hannah's exceptional dedication and outstanding achievements have earned her the titles of both Wellborn's 2025 Teacher of the Year and Kansas City, Kansas Elementary Public School District 2025 Teacher of the Year. She was selected from a pool of distinguished educators. Hannah stood out among several educators and was selected as the region semi-finalist. She represents excellence in teaching at the regional level. With this great achievement, Hannah will temporarily step away from her classroom duties to fulfill the responsibilities which come with this prestigious honor. Please join us in extending her heartfelt congratulations to Hannah Master-Harakas, this remarkable achievement. Congratulations. And we just want to say An apple makes a teacher special in every kind of way.
Congratulations, Hannah. Thank you, Dr. Sutherland, and we're so excited to recognize you this morning. Congratulations on all you've done, and thank you for your commitment to our students in the district. Next up, we'll jump right back up to item A, board, and we will have our challenge award recognition.
Good morning, everyone. It is my privilege to recognize the schools that received this award. This award is issued by the Kansas State Department of Education. The Challenge Awards are a celebration of the great work schools are doing and remind us to continue pushing forward to improve student academic performance and narrow the gap between all our subgroups. The schools being honored this year are doing an exceptional job in these areas. We are pleased to award your district for outstanding achievements and uncommon accomplishments based on Kansas math and reading assessment results, graduation rates, chronic absenteeism rates, and the social economic status of those taking the test. The certificates which Dr. Campbell will be presenting to 3 of our school, well, 4, and I need to pull it up because it's not on here. Kansas is fortunate to have an extraordinary educators and administrators whose leaderships guides our students to achieve beyond what students themselves thought possible. Congratulations and thank you for all you do to make Kansas education great. Sincerely, Randy Watson, Commissioner of Kansas State Department of Education. So we are privileged to have 4 of our elementary schools who received the Challenge Award. The first one being Emerson Elementary. And the principal is coming forward to receive that. Thank you for all you do. And we also have Frank Rushton. And next we have John Fisk. John Fisk brought a team. Congratulations. And finally, T.A. Edison. We just want to say thank you for all you do, and congratulations to each of you for earning this prestigious honor. And I know our principals are going back to their schools, so thank you for being here this morning.
Congratulations to the schools, principals, all your staff, our students for all the hard work you've been putting into the school year. Thank you for all that you do, and we look forward to some continued successes all across the district. Next up, and we do have seats up front if anyone would like to sit. We do still have some seats available if anyone would like to sit down. Next up, item C on our agenda, I'd invite Dr. April Sutherland back to the microphone as we have our Kansas School Social Worker Association Children's Award.
It's a great day to be elementary. All right, so I'm here again, and I have another special recognition. At this time, I would like Katie O'Hagan to come forward. The Kansas School Social Workers Association is dedicated to supporting Kansas school social workers by advocating for their needs at the local, state, and national levels. This year, Katie O'Hagan, a counselor at Alfred Fairfax Academy, was honored with the Kansas School Social Worker Association Champion Children's Award. Katie's commitment to working with our students, positively impacting the lives of others, is a significant achievement, and we express our gratitude for her dedication and time. So please join me in congratulating Katie O'Hagan. And once again, an apple a day keeps everyone happy in a special way.
Congratulations, Ms. O'Hagan. Thank you for all your work.
Still here?
Tori's going to do it.
All right, next up, we will hear from our foundation about our scholarship recipients. Good morning, Tori.
Good morning. Good morning, board.
Morning.
All right, my name is Tori Anderson. I am the Foundation Supervisor at the Kansas City, Kansas School Foundation for Excellence. Today I'm here to recognize our senior scholarship recipients that we were able to recognize this year. I do want to give a huge shout out to our lead college and career coordinators and to the Diploma Plus partnership that we had. Thank you to Dr. Wright and Lisa Martinez for all your support to make this happen this year. This year we're doing something a little different. Maybe you guys are familiar with us recognizing all of our seniors at the board, but this year we were able to host our first annual scholarship reception. So we were able to host this outside of the board meeting and during school hours. In partnership with Diploma Plus, we were able to provide transportation to the seniors. We did host this at the Wyandotte County West Library. I want to give a huge shout out to Dr. Stubblefield and Dr. Campbell for attending, and to some of our board members that you'll see here. I just want to give you a quick few highlights for them since they aren't here. Like I said, we were able to do this at the library. It went very well. We were able to provide the buses, which is why we did do that during the school hours. We wanted to make sure all the students were able to attend and to feel special and feel recognized. And we were able to present them all with checks with their awards. So what that looks like this year is we were able to award 33 scholarships to our seniors this year. That's over $100,000 in scholarships for them to attend a university, college, technical school, whatever their education looks like past high school. Combined, we were able to do 15 Foundation for Excellence scholarships. That is $5,000 for 15 different students. Additionally, we were able to provide what we call our named scholarships, and that ranges anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000. Here is some of the photos that we were able to do with our groups of students. Like I said, we were really able to accomplish this with our lead college and career coordinators that you will see featured in some of these photos. Since they are not here today, I am just going to kind of skim through, but I do want you to be able to recognize the students that we were able to recognize this year. So F.L. Schlegel had 5 students that were recognized. We were able to give them 4 Foundation for Excellence scholarships. J.C. Harmon High School, we were able to pass out 5. One of them was not in attendance at the event we held. They also received 3 Foundation for Excellence and then 2 named scholarships. Sumner Academy had, I just lost my number out of my head. Sumner Academy had 8 scholarship recipients. That was 1 in the fall with our Reasons to Believe and 7 spring scholars. We were able to give 3 Foundation for Excellence for those students, and that would be additional named scholars. We did have 2 new scholarships this year, so this is an additional 2 scholarships to the named section, excuse me. Washington had 4. This is 3 Foundation for Excellence and 1 named scholarship. And then our last school, which was our largest amount of recipients, we had 11 at Wyandotte High School. And I really want to give a huge shout out to Marcus Jones at Wyandotte, excuse me. He really helped get those students motivated because let me add that our scholarship process is they must submit a resume, a letter of recommendation, and complete an essay. So with the support of those lead college and career coordinators, they were all able to get these in. We did have over 75 applicants this year, and we're able to give out the 33 again. They received 2 Foundation for Excellence, and then they received 9 named scholarships. That is my presentation.
Thank you so much, and congratulations again to all of our scholars, to all the staff who helped support them. What a great way to start our morning as we continue to celebrate staff and scholars and their accomplishments. Thank you for that, for sharing that information this morning. Next on our agenda board, we are at item E, and this last week, Dr. Stubblefield was presented with a proclamation from Central Avenue Betterment Association, who received one from Mayor Tyrone Gardner, and I think Dr. Stubblefield's going to share some of that.
I will just read the proclamation as it is written, and it was presented to the district, and it says, whereas in the state of Pueblo, Mexico, every 5th of May, the state celebrates the country's armed forces triumph over the French army who was advancing over Mexico City, whereas in the United States, the celebration of the 5th de Mayo has become an enormous celebration of all cultural expressions of Mexican origin, whereas the population of Mexican descent in Wyandotte County is of enormous importance to the economic development and social stability of the community, whereas the respect and recognition for the hard work and deliverance of the Mexican community in Wyandotte County gives pleasure to a proud celebration. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Kansas City, Kansas, County of Wyandotte, the County Commission proclaims May 5th as the day to remember and celebrate Mexican cultural pride in honor of the individual and collective members of our community of Mexican descent. Resolved that Wyandotte County proudly proclaims the liberties, freedoms, and privileges to express pride in the collective evolution of Mexican culture in the United States, and be it further and finally resolved that we preserve democracy as it exists in this great nation, and that we stand strong together in our commitment to celebrate the Mexican community, recognizing that our differences, when invested in the community and shared with the collective, makes a stronger city, therefore county. Wyandotte County Mexican Culture Pride Day in Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, and urge all citizens to recognize Wyandotte County Mexican Culture Pride Day, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand in the seal of the unified government of Wyandotte County, Kansas, Kansas City, Kansas, Tyrone Gardner, Mayor, CEO. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Stubblefield. Okay, so we'll continue on with our agenda. Next on our agenda is our community comment. Again, as a reminder for folks, anyone is welcome to give comment. Please follow our public participation at board meetings policy, BCBI, and please adhere to those, the process and policy. Just make sure you sign up with Ms. Smith Monday prior to the board meeting by noon. You'll have 3 minutes. As soon as you come to the podium, please state your name. Make sure that Ms. Smith has your contact information. You don't need to give it while you're at the podium, but just make sure that we have your information in case we need to reach out to you. And you'll have 3 minutes. Again, a reminder, anything that your comments should not be directed to single out any individual person. Should be general comments. If there is any comments that need to go into exec session, we would do that at the appropriate time. So first up, I would invite Ms. Jamia Warren to the podium. I don't believe she's here today. Okay. Thank you. Next, I would invite Ms. Hannah Blair.
Hello, members of the school board.
Good
My
morning.
name is Hannah Blair. I use she, her, they, them pronouns. I'm a school psychologist in this district, and I'm here before you to stand in solidarity with staff members, parents, and students who are victims of the broken SPED system we're enduring today. For those who do not know the role of school psychologists, we are key members of the IEP evaluation process and have extensive training in special education law. Part of my job is as a trained listener who builds relationships with administrators, teachers, parents, related service providers, and the students themselves, so I can discern what supports students need to access a just education. I also have a unique experience of working in 1 middle school, 3 elementary schools, and 3 early childhood schools in this school year alone. This is in part due to my caseload being reorganized 6 times during my time here. In my 1 year working here, I have seen important trainings canceled and not followed up on, have had students in my caseload move to new buildings without being consulted, and pleaded for coordinators to meet with building teams amid significant alterations in SPED procedure. Even though I have even gone so far as to plan a meeting space for them to meet a month in advance, the building team and the coordinators, and the coordinators canceled that meeting the day before it was held. When I stressed the importance of the meeting to them, they either refused to attend or promised to attend only to not show up. Sometimes the team received emails about these significant alterations in SPED procedure. Other times, building teams didn't receive any information and had to rely on hearsay to adapt to changes while the structure changed from beneath their feet. Those changes were never formed with building staff input. While I appreciate the movement toward a plan mentioned in the newsletter, I noticed that the plans lack detail and lack an emphasis on transparency. This is important to combat the rampant lack of accountability present today. Note takers need to be present at every meeting. All documents outlining action steps need to be publicly available and easily accessible. Plans created need to have people assigned to follow up. The children of KCK need you to understand that what has been happening in the past 3 years has not been working. As we stand now, if any plan is to succeed, it requires great change. Keep that SPED status review close. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I would invite Jessica Davenport to the podium.
Good morning. Thank you for your time.
Morning.
My name is Jessica Davenport. I'm an occupational therapist in the early childhood program here at KCK. And I'm here to stand up for those who can't. I desire for everyone from all walks of life to be treated fairly and for their rights to be respected. And under the current management, our school system is failing to provide adequate special education services to our kids. And because of this, I'm resigning, and while it pains me to leave, I will not be a part of a system that fails to prioritize the well-being of our students, their families, and our dedicated staff. Two of my colleagues, Bethany Heinz and Hannah Blair, in that KU study really hone in on the same thoughts, feelings, and experiences I have had. So I implore you to go back and listen to Bethany, go back and listen to Hannah, go back and read the study. I'm just here to double down that this is widespread and is way bigger than I think even I can comprehend. Just consider a preschooler who in 2 years, he's been moved 4 different times to different locations. The staff has felt overwhelmed and unsupported. The student, I'm sure, feels uncomfortable, unsafe, and unsupported. How would that make us feel if we were moved 4 different times? As Hannah mentioned, a relocation of 6 different caseloads. And this student still doesn't have the placement that the team has recommended. I've been part of this district just since August, and in my very short time, I've heard many experiences from many others, and I've experienced it my own injustices. I have truly exceptional colleagues who exemplify dedication, talent, and an unwavering commitment to our students. However, it's been disheartening because they have voiced their concerns. They have advocated for an improvement, and they have been met with oftentimes indifference and sometimes reprimands. I've personally witnessed students deprived of their essential interventions due to unnecessary delays. I have a student who should have started in November, and because of our unorganization and communication, as well as this family being non-English speaking, this student did not start until November, and then again had a delay in services and did not start again until February. I have repeatedly seen data and team recommendations ignored while central office staff make the final decisions on kids they have never seen. And this leaves those children and their families in environments that are not supportive of their individualized learning needs, and it causes families to suffer in the long run. We are losing incredible staff members who specifically come to KCK because they want to serve our population. I was drawn because of the beautiful diversity of KCK, but they and I have quickly learned that we may not be listened to and ignored. Many staff members are just picked up and moved around this district without regard for their expertise, their opinions, or their training. And this extends beyond the special education system. It impacts general education as well. Despite all of this, I do believe there's hope. I'm here to ask you just to listen and act, to enact real change, because so that every student receives their specialized education and they're able to succeed. And as members of this community, we have the collective responsibility to ensure that every child receives the care and support that they each need. Let us not forget the golden rule: treat others as we would want to be treated. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Ms. Davenport. Next, I would invite Ms. Pamela Pen Hicks to the podium.
Good morning, board, administrators, staff, and interested parties. I want to tell you I come in peace, ready to help. The people have voted, and there is a message in the outcome. We need to change the trajectory of the conversation and enter into a real discussion about how to improve our schools and our buildings. We have an opportunity to engage citizens in formulating a new outlook on education. Given its importance on future outcomes for our students, we have to take action. During the campaign, I heard from parents who want their children to reach their potential and realize their dreams and achieve academic success. I heard from taxpayers who understood the importance of maintaining the buildings but didn't find this plan sustainable. I heard from people who are struggling with our current economic challenges and just couldn't find another dollar to give. Many comments, many opinions, as we spoke to the members of this community. The one thing that they had in common was a desire to be better informed when institutions seek money from them. Our board president, Mr. Lopez, stated in an interview that the board was looking to reconvene the groups that originally created the proposal. His statement gave me pause. It makes little sense to reproduce the same dynamic that caused the bond to fail. Without a real investment in community participation and input, where all aspects of the educational experience are shared, reviewed, assessed, and analyzed for best practices, and applied in service to providing a quality product, the process will again come up short. Communication of those actions to the community is essential for buy-in. Without that buy-in, the results will likely be the same, and no one will benefit. There are community members who are eager to help. They just need an invitation. I hope the board administration will take the opportunity to expand the conversation and ask for community input. Let's give all our students the opportunity they deserve.
Thank you, Ms. Pen Hicks. All right, and as always, we will have a member of our leadership team reach out to everyone who made a comment today for any follow-up to see if there's some follow-up comment or question that we can support. Board, next on our agenda is item number 4. We have our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve today's consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy, yes.
Robert Mylan Jr.,
Allen Jr., yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell, Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, board, on our agenda, we will hear from Ms. Carol Levers, our Executive Director of our libraries.
Good morning, Mr. Lopez. Good morning, board and Dr. Stubblefield. I have with me this morning Rachel Miller, who's the youth services person at the South Branch Library. Will be sharing with you our plans for the summer reading.
I think I can figure it out. Maybe. Where do I present? There it is. I see. It's been a while since I've done a PowerPoint presentation. Sorry. As as Carol said, I am Rachel Miller. I am the Youth Services Supervisor at our South Branch Library, and I wanted to tell you guys about our summer reading program that starts in June. So important dates to remember. Registration for summer reading begins tomorrow. Our kickoff party is May 30th, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later in the presentation. June 1st is the first day to turn in logs. July 31st is the last day to turn in logs. Our reader goals this summer, youth, we're asking them to read 500 minutes. We stick with what the schools say of 20 minutes a day. And so they have little clocks on their logs that they fill out for every 20 minutes that they read, and are able to turn those in for prizes. Summer reading isn't just for kids, it's for adults too. So we serve everyone from babies to grown-ups. So we want adults to read over the summer too. Adults have more options for how they can log their reading. We know adults are busy and they read in all different ways. So they can log by books, pages, or minutes. These are the youth prizes this summer. Our children ages 0 to 3 are going to receive 4 books of their choosing, coupons to some local fast food restaurants, and a story time at home kit. So that gives them a lot of the things that we use in story time at the library. It also comes with a brochure to teach parents how to use those things to do a little story time at home with their kiddos. Children ages 4 to 18 will also receive 4 books of their choosing, coupons to local fast food restaurants, and a prize pack. Our summer theme is Adventure Begins at Your Library. So we have sort of a little adventure pack that includes a branded water bottle and some little trinkets. The adult prize is a insulated travel tumbler. That's pretty awesome, and we think it'll be very popular. So if you're interested, join quickly. So they will also earn a $5 coupon to spend at any of our book sales, including our Library in the Park book sale. So our summer reading kickoff party is coming up quick. It's May 30th. This is our fourth year, holding it at the Boulevard Drive-In. We will be showing a movie at Boulevard. The gates will open at 7, and each car that enters will receive a signed book from a local author, and then we'll have a lot of pre-show entertainment before the movie begins at 9:15. Our local author this year is Brandon Todd. He is from North Kansas City, and he wrote a book that fit our theme perfectly. It is about 2 friends who visit the library to find a new adventure. We'll also be holding summer reading sign up at our kickoff. So that's a little picture of our mobile library. Families will be able to learn more about the library and sign up for our summer reading program at our mobile library and other informational tables. Our pre-show entertainment will also include visits with Are You Reading, bubbles, video games, crafts, and more. And that's it.
Great, thank you. Any questions, board members? Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sounds like an exciting summer of learning indeed. Board, under item A, and we did have the new Kansas City, Kansas Public Library logo that was to be presented and approved by the board if we so chose today. Ms. Levers, is there anything you would like to add, board? You have the information in your board packet. Hopefully you had some time to review it. Ms. Levers, anything you want to add about the logo? There was a lot of work
Nothing
going through
to
that.
add to the logo, but we have it in case there's any questions. And I have the Assistant Director, Sam Moore, here to all explain if any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Levers. Are there any questions on the logo proposal? If not, would entertain a motion to approve the final design chosen for the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library System logo and website rebranding projects.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion or questions? Seeing and hearing none. Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy, yes.
Robert Mylan Jr.,
Allen Jr., yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell, Dr. Wynn.
Doing yes.
Thank you.
Very exciting. Congratulations.
Board. Appreciate it.
Library. Thank you. Looking forward to all the rebranding all over town with the new logo. Thank you for that. Board, our next agenda item is item number 6, new business. This is up for information purposes only. No action is being asked of the board today, but it is here in case there are any questions on any of these items. Now would be an appropriate time to ask questions. First up, we do have The purchase of new cargo truck for Facilities Department by Mr. Wayne Correll. Are there any questions on this item?
Mr. Lopez.
Yes, Dr. Nguyen.
Thank you. So, Mr. Correll, as you've noted, this replaces a similar, correct?
Yeah, it replaces the original truck 30 that was here when I got here, yeah, back in 2011.
So, this has not been my question. This is not a new question. So what does that leave our fleet? How many, not so much specific types of trucks, but how many trucks do then we carry in our fleet?
Good. Step in, please.
That's a mystery.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
For the entire fleet, for the maintenance shop, we have a variety of 53 vehicles, and that's service technician vans, pickups, dump trucks, delivery vehicles.
And as we have received before, do we have, can you provide us, when can you provide us a list, in essence, the vehicles that are next to be on the, for lack of a better word, chopping block for
Replacement list or to dispose of, yes. I can have that for you by the end of the week.
Okay. Do you have an idea of what that is? I mean, realistically, this is not the only truck that is going to be replaced.
No.
So just looking forward, how should we look forward to other trucks that we'll have to replace?
Sure. I've had a plan that we've been working on for the last 5 or 6 years to replace our service technician's van, and we're really about to that point where we can kind of delay those a little bit. My hope was to get to where we had some value left in those when we were going to trade them in, so there wouldn't be such a big out-of-pocket expense. But now what we're working on are the big trucks, and realistically, we have 3 very large dump trucks that I'd like to reduce the size of those to reduce or improve fuel economy, reduce injuries, and this sort of thing. There's those 3. We have a truck that delivers from our warehouse, our storeroom is probably the very next one. So I'm going to say there's probably 4 that are on the immediate need list, but I can get you a full list here pretty quick.
Well, it's not me. I'm saying for the board.
Sure, I can get the board a list, yeah.
So what I hear you saying is that maybe not by the end of the week, but by the first of the month, you perhaps could have a plan for moving forward for the entire truck fleet.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Ms. Dr. Stubblefield, and I think it's something we need to look at.
Yes.
Thank you. Additional questions?
Where are we buying the trucks from?
Well, typically we would either put out for bid. This one's coming from a dealer in, it's Nextran. It's actually over in Kansas City, Missouri. We actually went looking for a new vehicle, and new vehicles are a ways out. There's a wait list for those. So this is why we've been waiting, trying to find a decent used vehicle. So to be honest with you, wherever we can find one in the hopefully immediate vicinity is where we'll look at buying a vehicle.
Because I was just wondering, are there any local dealerships that provide what we need, or we have to go outside of our area?
We will look internally, of course, in within our area. There's not a whole lot that sell these larger type vehicles like that, but there's a few we can look at, sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Additional questions, further discussion? If not, board, this will come back to us for action at a future board meeting. Thank you, Mr. Correll and Mr. Clements. Next on our agenda board is the adoption of high school health resources. Are there any questions on this proposal or information? Okay, seeing none, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Yes, Ms. Page.
With this particular program, have we ever thought about getting our own building and providing this?
Are we talking about the health resource for the health course that we have to teach next year?
Yeah, but, I didn't know, could we take it further? I know we're going to offer the course, but our health department create a building or something that we could take it even further?
So I think, Ms. Page, it's two different things. So the health course is like a requirement for students to take, but if we're talking about like providing access to health and healthcare pathways and those kind of things, or working with the health service department around that, that is very different from
No, I get that. I was just wondering. I know that's the requirement, but have we ever thought about taking it even further?
So I think
With
at
our
the
health department to do some things.
So I think at the health, community health roundtable, some ideas were generated, but we haven't, Ms. Lewis and her team heard the ideas and we heard the ideas, but we haven't like taken any action steps towards that. But we can definitely look at what that would possibly look like, but they do have current things that we're required to do that we have to address.
Oh, I got that part.
So
but I was
I'm
just
not saying
wondering.
it's not a possibility. Some ideas came up around lots of things. And I'm sure that roundtable group will be convening again, because I think that was going to be an annual thing. So I'm looking at Ms. Lewis and she's nodding. So that would be like the place to have that synergy, because it would definitely have to be a partnership and some commitments on several different entities' part. Yeah.
Thank you. I was just wondering if they
Absolutely.
thought about that.
Thank you. No, you're speaking my language, Ms. Page. I would love to see that as well. If I know that's a larger conversation, but I definitely appreciate that question. I'll just use this time to give a shout out to our students from Sumner and Wyandotte, and I think maybe Washington, who were doing a fellowship through their Diploma Plus at Vibrant Health for several weeks, and it was amazing to see the students there. And so, I appreciate the question, because I'd love to see us have a space dedicated to doing, and not just for healthcare, but other types of careers as well, as we're thinking about it. So let's continue to dream big and see how we make it happen. Thank you for that question.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes, Dr. Wynn.
Mr. Amayo. And could they, whoever mans could they show the slide for this program? For this? Can you show the slide?
I don't have it pulled up here. I don't know how to pull it up on this.
It would be going to board docs and just clicking on it.
Okay, well.
Yeah, he could, if you go to like the internet, if you have a question while you're doing it, if you go to just to the internet.
That's okay, he can answer the questions. I thought we would
Okay.
do it. Anyway, so this is is this a curriculum?
This is a curriculum so the state changed the graduation requirements for the 2028 cohort, and this is to fulfill that graduation requirement. So they essentially split health out of PE, and now they're two separate courses. So this is a half-credit course that we have to offer to next year's freshmen.
And I'm sorry, did you say that already? Did I miss you explaining that?
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay. So this is a curriculum, and I'm just reading it, 130,000?
Correct.
Is this, and what is this? And why was this curriculum chosen? Is this?
So we ran a pilot between two separate curriculums, and this is the one based on the rubrics and the pilot that we chose.
So you've already used it where?
At Harmon and Wyandotte is where we ran the pilots.
Okay. And what stood out about it? I think you just said it, but.
Mostly the accessibility of the curriculum and a lot of the comprehensive health curriculums have supplementals. This one was comprehensive, meaning it's in one place, and then it's also offered in English and Spanish, which a lot of the users thought was really good. And then it was more user-friendly in terms of, because it's digital, than the other curriculum that was offered.
And it interfaced with Canvas?
Yes, ma'am, I believe so.
I appreciate your comments, and I appreciate your explanation. And while it is on our screen, whoever, maybe parents listening outside, unless we ask these questions, no one knows exactly what you presented this way. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Additional questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Amaya. This item will come back at a future board meeting, board, for potential action. Next item is the Too Good for Drugs and Too Good for Violence information. Are there any questions on this item? Seeing none. Again, this item will come back at a future date as well, board. If you do have questions as you're going through those items, please submit those to Dr. Stubblefield, and we'll make sure that we respond to all board members with any questions and responses.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes, Ms.
I'm
Page.
sorry. I'm dragging this morning.
Oh, you're fine.
Could they tell us if this is used somewhere else in the metropolitan area? Yeah.
So, good morning. Actually, we have a partnership with First Call to use their life skills programming in our schools. And what we noticed, and the reason and the impetus for the Too Good for Drugs and Too Good for Violence, is there's a little bit of a lack of diversity amongst that curriculum. And First Call themselves, our regional drug and alcohol substance use prevention center, is moving to Too Good for Drugs and Too Good for Violence. So they're going to act as a coach for us. So they've been using it in schools across the metro. And we thought this is the perfect opportunity to empower our counselors to be able to hit. So what we did was K through 9. We received a grant to purchase a counselor kit for every single counselor across the district so that we're not reliant on an outside agency, their staffing and their schedules, to be able to provide this newer, more up-to-date, more diverse and inclusive curricular resource for us. We will still use First Call for other supports and resources, and they actually, because they have a person who is trained as a trainer for Too Good for Drugs and Too Good for Violence, they're going to be acting as a coach for us and providing some professional development. We're also sending our SEL and counseling coordinator to become a trainer as well through the Mendez Foundation's trainings. So they'll act as an embedded coach for all of our counselors to support that program. So the short answer is yes, people are using it across the metro and they're seeing good outcomes.
Okay, you said the counselors would be doing this?
Yes, so this will be a counselor resource. So we received a grant to purchase one kit for every single counselor across our district.
So are they going to train the staff there?
So our staff will continue to use Second Step EC through 8, which is a universal social emotional learning curriculum that teaches skills. The Too Good for Drugs and Too Good for Violence is only 15 lessons total, and so it's the perfect amount for our counselors during their push-in lessons that they do that is that supplemental, really rich and robust Tier 1 instruction. But it's more targeted on those skills, those life skills you need to make positive choices, build connections, to say no to drugs, and to decrease violence.
So that counselor is going to hit every kid at that school?
Our counselors do, yeah. So we have one counselor in every school at minimum. And so for elementary schools that have above 500 students, they have 2 counselors, and they do a schedule that is either weekly or monthly, depending on their caseload, depending on what data shows small groups are needed. So yeah, our counselors are doing lessons district-wide. We're just handing them a coherently aligned scope and sequence that targets what we said we're looking to target to, again, increase those pro-social skills and decrease violence and substance use.
Okay, because somehow, I just wonder, can they realistically do that with all the other stuff that they have?
Yeah, so that was a question when we were writing a grant that we talked through. And one of the things that we were looking at was how do we build that into their schedule? So we were putting together a scope and sequence so that they know exactly, hey, here's where I need to be within those 15 lessons at this time of year so that I am hitting every single student that it's intended to be hit, which is all of our students.
And your department is going to check to make sure.
Yes, we've got,
everybody's on
yeah, and then we'll also have the grant reports because it's a 3-year grant that also will pay for the consumables, the student workbooks and all of that. And so that's part of it. It has pre and post tests, so we'll be able to see what skills we again need to do targeted reteaching around as well. But yep, that's all built into the program evaluation of the grant as well.
And is there a parent segment?
There are parent segments. Great question, Ms. Brownlee-Page. There are parent segments so that we can send out newsletters, and it's all embedded within that online component as well as that physical kit. So you can send out in your newsletter, hey, here's what we've been working on. You can build the capacity. There's also a couple of different ways to engage. So the thought was that will also give our counselors some really salient talking points at our parent events as well in their at the night events that their communities hold.
Okay. Thank you.
Great questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Additional?
Mr.
Dr.
Lopez,
Nguyen?
please.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you. So I'm noticing the Mendez Foundation is in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where you applied for the grant?
No, it actually was through KSDE. The Department of Education's had a Stronger Connections grant, and the thought was, being the name of it, Stronger Connections, how can we build resilience within communities and what can we do? So this grant is local through the state.
But the resources come from the Mendez.
The Mendez Foundation based out of Atlanta, yep.
And you said this is a 3-year grant?
It is. So for this is actually year one. So we are purchasing, we received the grant in January, and now we're in the process of purchasing it. We've been working with the Mendez Foundation to make sure we have exactly the number that we need of the kits and the resources to start doing this in the fall.
So the $182,000 is for 3 years of materials, or?
It is for actually it'll be kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. They will each have their own kit. The counselors will. And then again, 6 through 8 has separate kits. And then high school is actually just one because it is the same. They just give you adapted lessons within it. Once you've taught it 1 year, when you go into 10th grade, you teach it slightly differently. So it's a single kit per grade level for each counselor. We will you'll see something come through in a couple of weeks when we get the next round of funding on July 1 for all of the student consumables, which are workbooks that they'll be able to take and write in and do all of that.
Okay, so help me understand.
Okay.
The $182,000 is a one-time cost?
Is a one-time cost for the kits. Mm-hmm.
For the material?
For the kit specifically, not the student consumables. Mm-hmm.
And you have been optioned to use it for 3 years?
We will use it forever, hopefully. No. Yeah, so that we're going to be using it, and that's just how the grant is funded. So for next school year and the year after, it'll purchase all those student consumables, and at that point, we'll have done it for enough time that we'll know, is this really what we want to use? Looking at that sort of 3-year timeline, is this really something that is making an impact? And if it's not, is there something better out there? And we'll just continue that adaptive process of, are we meeting the needs of our students and our families by using this curricular resource? But yes, we're making a 3-year commitment.
Do you have intervals before 3 years to see if you can evaluate the
Yeah, so that's a great question. We'll have that program evaluation built in, and it's similar to the answer to Ms. Brownlee Page of we're going to do program evaluation as through all of that monitoring of pre and post tests, those anecdotes from the teachers around usability, as well as the surveys that we use when our counselors implement. But we want to see, does the staff like it, and is it making an impact on students through reducing office referrals, increasing attendance, and also reducing self-report from our students of, do I have feelings of wanting to use substances, and those types of things.
But at what intervals?
So we have those built in quarterly. It's
Quarterly.
built in quarterly in that program. Sorry, thank you.
That was the key word.
Sorry, my bad.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional questions? All right. Thank you, Ms. Chauvin.
Thank you.
All right. Board, next up on the agenda, it has 7A executive session, but we're going to move that to go with a different agenda item, item 8D, so we won't do the exec session just quite yet. We will start with item 8A. Board, these items have come before us at least once before and are up for action if the board so chooses. First up, it is recommended the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education accept the proposal from ClassLink for a single sign-on solution in accordance with the requirements of board policy DJED, as submitted by Mr. Wayne Carell, Mr. Steve Lilly, and is recommended by Dr. Anna Stubblefield.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Smith.
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy, yes.
Robert Marlin Jr.
Marlon Jr., yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell.
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Board, next up, it is recommended the Board of Education approve, the Board of Education for Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools approve the quote from Mid-Continental Restoration utilizing TIPS cooperative contract in the amount of $300,722.50 to perform masonry cleaning and repairs at Sumner Academy in accordance with Board Policy DJED as submitted by Mr. Doug Clements, Mr. Wayne Carell, and Mr. Steve Lilly, and is recommended by Dr. Anna Stubblefield.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there questions or discussion?
Mr. Lopez, I don't remember, I'm sure we did. Did we receive were there three bids? Where is Mr. Carell? You usually present to us the,
Yeah, this did not go out to a bid process. This is through the co-op contract process. So it's been bid through the state contract.
okay. When you use that list, that still is a choice whether you bid or not? Or does use of that list preempt bidding?
I think it'd be either or. We could do both, Wayne.
Okay.
Each July, you all give us the option to use the state contracts or cooperative agreements as one of the options if we need to move quickly or if we need to, go with a vendor that has experience. And, the Sumner site is a historical site, like, it's on the historical register. We use the cooperative agreements for the convenience. They've been bid publicly, and I guess what else are you needing?
Just ask.
Okay, yeah. So
Question
they've
was,
been
and you
publicly
answered.
solicited, and they meet all the requirements, and it follows the state statute that we use these.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Additional questions? Not Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy, yes.
Robert Marlin Jr.
Allen Jr., yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell.
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, board is recommended the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education approve the quote from John A. Marshall Company FDC contract in the amount of $175,182 for the 2024 flooring projects utilizing Kansas State Contract 30880AC in accordance with the requirements for board policy DJED as submitted by Mr. Doug Clements, Mr. Wayne Carell, Mr. Steve Lilly, and is recommended by Dr. Anna Stubblefield.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Lopez, I
Yes,
have
Ms. Page.
a question. I know Emmy Pearson was on the list, and I have received phone calls from constituents who have family members or they work there that were very concerned about the mold in some of the rooms at the school. So I don't know if every room was checked. You listed 12, but they were very concerned, and they felt, some of them complained that maybe the surface that we're using at this school, especially when we're serving breakfast and stuff, and people are spilling things, and it doesn't get clean the way that you would think you would clean it. And I'm not saying we've done nothing, but their concern was, have they really checked every room? Because there is mold at this school.
Well, and that's a situation that frankly I just learned of late last week, so I don't have a real good response for you on that. I do know there's a room that I suspect is part of it where it's kind of subgrade and has carpet there, and we're changing from carpet to tile in most of these rooms. So we'll look into that, and I'll get a response back to you. I'll provide it to you what the mold situation, and we'll get that taken care of and cleaned up. Yeah.
We just want to make sure that we cover everybody.
Absolutely, sure.
And people are safe, and they're calling and crying about their family members because they don't want them to be sick and have to go through a lot of different things. So I didn't know if we had checked every room. I saw the 12, and thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes, Dr. Nguyen.
Mr. Clemens. In the same category, this action just addresses these specific schools, right?
Correct.
Okay, so, but in, as a result of, I think a pipe burst at Arrowhead,
Yes.
will, as you go through the summer, will you have to wait to bring a list, or do you have the ability to change out flooring?
On those individual projects like that, because the cost typically is much less, we can move forward, and we'll get those situations taken care of. When there's a certain urgency to taking care of those kind of problems. And actually, the price that we're looking at here, and I'm sorry, I didn't have your particular agenda this morning to look at, but I think the total is what, about 175, Wayne? So that is the combination of, most of that is we're going to contract to have the work done at Whittier is 105. The rest is all materials that our staff are going to do internally at select sites. But then we will be able to answer your question, yes, we'll be able to address individual issues as they come up.
Because, again.
They always come up.
And we had the pipes burst, and you know that.
Yeah.
And then the kids come in and go, this room smells.
Right, right. We do have we keep a supply of the flooring that we use on hand, and so we'll replenish that periodically, so we will be able to address those
Right, so
issues.
it's replacing carpet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Additional questions? If not, Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Robert Mylan Jr.,
Allen Jr., yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Yes, and please check the schools.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes. And I think my follow-up commentary is, I guess, Doug, I should have asked when you were here, but how old is Emmy Pearson?
I can look it up.
It's quite old, right? Okay, so I think these are continual conversations that we will continue to have because these are deferred maintenance issues that continue to be prevalent in every single one of our buildings, in a majority of the older ones specifically. What I am getting at is that our teams are doing the best that they can with the resources that they have. And so it is upon us to continue to make choices and decisions that support ensuring that each and every one of our buildings, we don't have this crisis. We have to, at some point, go from being reactive to being proactive. And while we have had many conversations about similar situations, even the discussion of mold, it is frustrating when we have choices that we can make and then we decide not to do those. So, thank you.
Dr. Nguyen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next item, board, is item D. And we will actually go into executive session to start this item. Board, I'd entertain a motion to recess to executive session to discuss matters of safety and security, going in at 9:05 for 10 minutes, to include Dr. Stubblefield, Mr. Goheen, Mr. Lilly, Dr. Conrad, Dr. Campbell, and Ms. Devon.
Motion. So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? Ms. Smith, roll call.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy, yes.
Robert Mylan Jr.,
Allen Jr., yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Thank you. All right, motion to return to open session, please.
Computer today.
Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Smith, roll call.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy, yes.
Robert Mylan Jr.,
Allen Jr., yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Win, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're back in open session. Board, we are on item 8D, and it is recommended the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education approve the contract for Rapid 7 for a total of $601,920 to be paid for with contingency reserve funds as submitted by Dr. Conrad, Mr. Lilly, and is recommended by Dr. Anna Stubblefield.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy, yes.
Robert Mylan Jr.,
Allen Jr., yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
No, and I just wish we could have had the contract reviewed. And I know what was said back there, but that's just what I'd like to see. It is what we need, but that was just one piece I needed for me. So no.
Rachel Russell.
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
To be consistent with my opposition to outsourcing, I understand the urgency, I understand the security issue, but I do not support outsourcing. However, again, I understand the urgency at this time, but I vote no.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Right. Next item, board, we will hear the third quarter academic attendance and discipline report from Dr. Judith Campbell. Good morning, Dr. Campbell.
Good morning, Board President Lopez, Vice President Drew, board members,
Morning.
Superintendent Dr. Anna Stubblefield, participating staff, and audience. Again, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Dr. Judith Campbell, Deputy Superintendent of Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools, and I am here along with Dr. Fernandez Flores, our Executive Director of Diploma Plus College and Careers Instructional Programs, to present our third quarter data. Our sphere of influence continues to support our process and outcome goals across all of our district's continuous improvement frameworks. As the data shared this morning continues to highlight our work aligned to the themes 1 and 2 of the district strategic framework, the 5 KESA outcome areas, and our board goals that leans into our North Star of, by 2031, 100% of our students with no disparities of race or gender subgroups will graduate Diploma Plus. We've continued to speak about our 2024-2025 school year goal of graduating 65% of our students, our senior students, with a Diploma Plus endorsement. As of date, that 65% would equate to 779 students, and currently we look to supersede this goal as we have 908 students graduating Diploma Plus. As the leadership and learning team works to continue to focus around those 3 priorities that are displayed here. The data that will be reviewed this morning is the district benchmark assessment, attendance, and disciplinary data. Our district benchmark assessment measures mastery of priority standards taught in each grade level and is assessed quarterly while being a predictor of the annual Kansas State Assessment, also known as CAP. We will conclude with our attendance and disciplinary data.
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
I'm Dr. Fernandez Flores, the Executive Director of Diploma Plus, and I will be reviewing our benchmark assessment results with you this morning. Kansas City, Kansas administers these quarterly, as Dr. Campbell said. The following assessments are for grades 3rd through 12th in the areas of English Language Arts and Mathematics. These are written based on our Guaranteed Viable Curriculum and Pacing Guides, and we assess students on a select of priority state standards that are taught. These assessment measures how well students have learned these standards, and the categories used are mastery, near mastery, or below mastery. The bar graph that you see here represents the data for grades 3rd through 12th in both content areas tested. The graph contains data for last year and this year. We see a reduction in below mastery across for both subject areas, with the largest decrease in English Language Arts. These next slides are specific to English Language Arts benchmark assessment results for grades 3rd through 12th. In English Language Arts, we see a reduction in below mastery across all grade levels, with the largest decrease in middle school. We further see a reduction in below mastery across all race and ethnicity, with the largest decrease with American Indian and Alaskan Native. We see also a reduction in below mastery across for both students with disabilities and without disabilities, we do see a gap larger than 10% between the two groups. In reviewing the English proficiency, we see reduction in below mastery across for both ESOL and non-ESOL students. We see a gap larger than 10% between the two groups. We also see a reduction in below mastery across all designation levels of school buildings, with the largest decrease in the CSI designation. For English language arts, instruction will continue to focus on structured literacy and highly explicit and systematic teaching of all literacy components. Teachers have been receiving this training through a program called Letters. As of date, 80% of the first cohort of teachers have completed this training. We will now proceed with math results for our district benchmark assessments. These next slides are specific to mathematics benchmark assessment results. In mathematics, we see a reduction in below mastery across all grade levels, with the largest decrease at middle school. We see a reduction in below mastery across all race and ethnicity, with the largest decrease with American Indian and Alaskan Native. We continue to see a reduction in below mastery across for both students with and without disabilities. We see a gap larger than 10%, though, between these two groups. We see a reduction in below mastery across for both non-English language learners and English language learners. And we also see a gap larger than 10% between these two groups. For mathematics, we see a reduction in below mastery across all designation levels of schools, with the largest decrease in the CSI designation. Moving forward, the Diploma Plus team will continue to assist with a transition to a new curriculum with embedded instructional routines for mathematics. This support is provided to assist teachers and building principals on increasing student learning outcomes. Our district will collaborate with the Kansas Math Project, which provides an explicit and systematic approach to mathematics instruction similar to Letters in English language arts. For both mathematics and English language arts, professional learning communities will continue to be the focus area that will impact measurable individual and collective outcomes for students. Teachers will continue to meet weekly to analyze data, focusing on how each student performs on the questions aligned to standards. They will also discuss which teaching methods worked best on student performance. The professional learning communities, or PLCs as we call them, will inform teachers around teaching difficult concepts or continuing to embed the concepts for repetition of skills in other standards taught in quarter 4. Supporting our educators in the classroom are the instructional leaders of our buildings, principals, who will continue to complete instructional walkthroughs using DigiCoach. Through this platform, they will continue providing explicit feedback regarding instruction input and outcomes from the PLCs, effective use of our district-adopted resources, and the implementation of instructional routines.
We will now move into our attendance data. The slide shows our current district average attendance rate at the end of third quarter is 90%, with 35% of them being identified as chronically absent. To clarify, the attendance rate is the average daily attendance average daily membership of a school district or district. The chronic absentee rate, which now must be reported to KSDE, is the percentage of students in a school that miss more than 10% of the instructional time for any reason, excused or unexcused. While we are increasing in our ADA and slowly decreasing our chronically absent students, we understand that there is more work to do in order to continue this trend. This year, we have started our second cohort of schools that are working to our Attend to Achieve 10 and Attendance Works. As such, we have engaged our schools with the following Tier 1 and Tier 2 strategies. Monitoring data. Creating a school team that regularly reviews attendance data with our Panorama platform to identify trends and absences and possibly barriers with attendance. The Attend to Achieve team is providing coaching and support to schools that are struggling to reduce chronically absent students. The team has seen a decrease for schools that are implementing Tier 1 strategies for attendance with fully functioning attendance teams. There is still more work to be done around early intervention with both cohorts of the attendance intervention groups for Attendance Works. Please note that prior year charts reflect the entire school year, whereas the 2024 data right now we are looking at reflects quarter 3. When looking at the various risk levels, you will also see a 2% increase in satisfactory attendance and a 2% decrease in severe chronic absenteeism. Some of the key factors contributing to this improvement include targeted intervention programs, improved communication with building and communities and families, and enhanced support services through the Attend to Achieve program. As we move forward, there is still a need to refine intervention strategies, improve data analytics and fidelity, expand our outreach efforts, and utilize our Panorama system to enhance our early warning efforts and continue to foster a culture of positive school attendance and accountability. When examining the average daily attendance by race, we saw a slight increase of 0.74% in the average across the 7 racial demographic groups between 2023 and 2024. As we continue to monitor attendance and celebrate daily attendance across the district, we are positive that we are capable of seeing more significant gains in this area. On this slide, you will notice a 3.14% decrease in average attendance rate and chronically absent across the aggregate 7 racial demographic groups between 2023 and 2024. In order to continue seeing our progress in this area, we need to continue to engage in data analytic protocols and provide early interventions looking at our subgroups and triage with targeted plans of actions. There has been no change in the average daily attendance of our students classified as English language learners or non-English language learners when we compare the 2023 school year to the current school year. There's been a slight decrease of 2% of students chronically absent who are ELL and a decrease of 5% for students who are classified as non-ELL. When looking at the data for the 2023-2024 school year, there has been no change in students with and without disabilities when we examine the average daily attendance rate. When looking at the chronic absenteeism for special education, students there have seen a 6% decrease for students with a disability and a decrease of 2% for those students without a disability. When we examine the data across elementary, middle, and high schools, we are stable with no change as of third quarter. This slide displays the students' chronic absenteeism has decreased at all levels between 2023 and 2024. We attribute this work to the consistency of the attendance team's meetings and providing appropriate Tier 1 and Tier 2 attendance interventions. Here, we have seen a stabilization for attendance rates rates at our ISI and CSI schools, and a 1% gain in our schools not identified for improvement. We are maintaining the same rate of 49% at our ISI schools for chronic absenteeism, but have seen slight decrease at our CSI and non-identified campuses. Now we're going to move to our Big Five discipline data. This slide offers a detailed breakdown of disciplinary trends among our student body. The data is carefully disaggregated by race and gender, providing insight into the experiences of Black, Hispanic, multiracial, and white students within our school community. To ensure statistical significance, a minimum of a group size of 30 students is required for inclusion in the data analysis. Notably, this quarter reveals a significant decrease in disciplinary incidents across various racial and gender groups compared to the previous school year of almost 50%. The detailed approach to the data collection allows us to identify disparities, implement targeted interventions, and foster a more equitable and inclusive learning environment for all of our students. The what? In this slide, we present a breakdown of the count of students involved in the top 3 disciplinary categories for each month of quarter 3. It sheds light on the prevalence of the disciplinary incidents and allows for a month-by-month comparison of student involvement in various disciplinary categories. Notably, there are significant decreases observed between 2023 and 2024, particularly in the areas of excessive tardiness, gross disruptive behavior, and skipping class. During quarter 3 of this school year, prevalent disciplinary categories include fighting, horseplaying, intimidation, and threatening students. You will notice a significant decrease in incidents. Addressing these root cause requires a comprehensive approach that focuses on promoting positive social-emotional development, demonstrating restorative practices, teaching conflict resolution skills, providing a trauma-informed support team, and fostering a safe and supportive school climate are the areas that will be worked on with our executive directors of schools, our student services team, and building principals to keep as we focus for the remainder of the school year and then transitioning into next school year. The where. We are pleased to see that there has been a decrease of 53.49% in students involved with classroom incidents, a decrease of 42.31% of students involved with discipline incidents in the classroom, and a decrease of 19.5% of students involved with restroom incidents. Despite the overall reduction in incidents, the highest days we see this quarter is Tuesday and Thursdays. To capitalize on these trends, we are suggesting that our schools continue to be intentional about starting the week with a strong focus on the SEL learning components and behavior management strategies. Additionally, they can end the week with opportunities to celebrate positive behaviors, reinforce the importance of respect, responsibility, and community within the school environment. If our schools can commit to this strategy, we are assured that we will see a decrease in the data for the aspects of our Big Five data and further promote a positive school climate. During third quarter, we observed a significant decrease in overall disciplinary incidents compared to last year. Notably, parent conferences and alternatives to out-of-school suspension strategies have emerged as a top resolution this year, reflecting a shift towards restorative practices and parent involvement in addressing behavior issues on our campuses. However, it's important to note that short-term suspension still remains a prevalent resolution, highlighting an area of focus for continued efforts in implementing alternative disciplinary measures and promoting positive behavior management strategies. This quarter, our student services team and executive directors of schools implemented a targeted intervention to triage with our principals and school-based teams when considering suspension in an effort to calibrate and look for more restorative approaches, while providing relevant professional development for our staff, such as de-escalation training and circle practices. Now, in conclusion of sharing our third quarter data, as stated, we have made growth, but recognize we still have work to do. Attached in your documents, you have outlined in greater detail what our next steps entails, as stated throughout the presentation. Thank you for your time this morning, and are there any questions that we may not have answered?
Thank you, Dr. Campbell, Dr. Fernandez Flores. Board is now open for questions or discussion from the board. Ms. Russell.
You told me I don't have to get that close. I keep forgetting. Okay, so I have a plethora of questions, and I apologize that I didn't send them up beforehand, and I tried to get my thoughts together. So my first question around Panorama is who currently utilizes Panorama? I believe that when the contract went through, I thought it said K through 8, but could you clarify who utilizes that?
That would be correct. Currently,
Okay.
it's our K through 8.
So then my follow-up question, if only K through 8 is using Panorama, and based on the data, I'm not seeing any significant decreases. We stayed relatively high in the high school level. And so what resource or what tools are high schools utilizing? Because they're comparative, whatever the word is I'm trying to find, to elementaries and middle schools who are in the lower 40s and below. The high schools continue over the course of the last 5 years, continue to stay in that 49-50% rate. So I'll stop there. What tools are the high schools actually utilizing?
So we talked about our Attend to Achieve and also providing that Tier 1 and Tier 2 support for all of our schools that include our high schools. There has been a request to extend Panorama to our high schools as we are looking at kind of backwards planning and what that transition can look like. That is a consideration because we recognize the Panorama tool gives real-time data that also provides the supports that we are seeing the gains with our K-8 schools. So currently, we are providing those Tier 1 and Tier 2 strategies with our Tend to Achieve team.
And that consists of the attendance secretary, and who else would be on those school-based teams?
And I'm going to have Miss.
Sorry.
Good morning. So give me your direct question again, will you?
Who is on so in the high schools, if we're utilizing Attend to Achieve teams, who is looking at the data? And I'm assuming it's Infinite Campus data.
Yeah, so they use Infinite Campus at our high schools to look at our attendance and discipline data, and specifically our attendance teams. And all of our buildings include that attendance secretary, oftentimes a register, your social workers, your counselors, and administrators. If they have FACEs or parent liaisons, they also include them. And then if they have any other interested parties, like a restorative justice facilitator who wants to join, because the goal is to have an interdisciplinary team that can bring a variety of lenses to, again, focus on that positive culture and climate to increase attendance.
Okay, so I guess my follow-up to that is at the middle school and elementary level, we see a lot of incentive-based rewards for attendance. And while I have a mixed bag of emotions about attendance awards for elementary and middle school because they don't drive, that is a whole nother conversation. But what are we utilizing as incentives at the high school level? What is the carrot that encourages those individuals who are not showing up to school, whether it be because the classes are irrelevant or they don't have that relationship with their FA? What are the incentive tools that we are utilizing at the high school level to get students to show up?
So great question. That differs at each high school. So each high school actually meets with Naomi Tolentino or Lucia Castaneda on our Attend to Achieve team, and they really focus on working with those specific teams in each building to put together an attendance plan. That attendance plan addresses foundational structures, so systemic barriers such as lack of housing, food, resources, tier 1 and tier 2, which is what Dr. Campbell was referencing in terms of what universal prevention can we take. And so we have high schools that are using similar incentive systems to the elementary school, and it might be extra credit, homework passes, things like that. And then that's our tier 1. Our tier 2 is they're doing 2x10s in those check-ins. And so when our buildings are looking at that data, they're looking typically at relational-based interventions. So we're looking at postcards across our all of our schools. We have an almost 100% rate of them sending out positive phone calls and then documenting those in Infinite Campus as well in terms of those relational interventions. And so the thought is if we can give you a relationship-based intervention, you're more likely to come, then we can add that tangible reinforcer. So I don't know that they're getting an item so much as more attention. And then our tier 3 is looking at what we can do to do attendance 101 within those school communities. And typically our school communities do those themselves after an Attend to Achieve teammate has come and modeled it for them. That might be a counselor, a social worker, or another staff member doing that. And the goal is to have buildings doing that themselves so that you can see, again, that relational-based intervention while building capacity within our parents and caregivers. And then if needed, that tier 3 intervention is also the truancy classes, TCPS, that happen at night so that we don't have students entering that truancy program with the DA.
Okay. And I guess hearing that, I mean, a request I will put out in the air is I would like to see if we have any buildings whose plan is being done well. Again, going back to the data that points to we haven't had substantial strides. A lot of this stems from a conversation around academic achievement will improve if we can address chronic absenteeism, but this continues to be an issue in our high school, and so I will continue to elevate that this is a question or an area of concern that I have while we have invested in the lower grade levels with a variety of incentives, resources. The concern that I have is that are those who need to be at school more. It is not happening at the high school level. Shifting gears a little bit around the monthly attendance benchmarks, but going back to my comments around chronic absenteeism. So in the document, it was said that we will continue to look at monthly attendance benchmarks at that daily rate. Are we also looking at chronic absenteeism through there, and it just wasn't written out in that way?
So that's
because daily attendance rate does not equal a decrease in chronic absenteeism, and I'm sure you all know this, but that is my question.
So that's a really good question. One of the things that we celebrate at our principals meetings is that ADA, that average daily attendance. And then we know that when they're meeting with the Attend to Achieve team, because the expectation is they're setting up at monthly is our hope with the Attend to Achieve team to get that coaching feedback and guidance. That's when they're delving deeper into that chronic absenteeism data, because we know that ADA is a little bit easier to boost in the quick, in that really short term, but then chronic absenteeism is that long term. It takes a little bit longer for us to be able to address it. So they do dive deeply into that with their meetings with the Attend to Achieve team, who says, okay, if this is what we're seeing at this subgroup or within this larger group, this grade level, here's how we can address that. And that's one of the things they look at each quarter as well, and then they benchmark it out. So monthly, quarterly, yearly, here are our goals and here's what we're doing. And then they're adaptive to that. If we saw that we had a low turnout on this, what are we doing to pivot to ensure that the next intervention we do really addresses that or gets the input and feedback we want from our families and our caregivers?
Okay, and I promise this is my
That one is
last
more of a
question
deep dive.
about
No, it's cool.
chronic absenteeism, and I want to be clear that be sure that I'm understanding the data. So we're saying our chronic absenteeism rate right now is 35%. Based on the graph, what was our chronic absenteeism rate at this time last year? Because I want to commend you all on the work that you are doing. However, we have a lot of work still to do. And so I want to make sure that we're not just saying, oh, we're doing all these things, but if we're not seeing a difference, then we also need to be doing something else.
So what I will state, I do not know offhand because I don't have last year's data specifically in front of me. What we do know overall, we are making small decreases as it relates to chronic absenteeism. So as stated, we recognize we're not where we want to be, but that's part of what you were talking about. How are we going to continue to take a deeper dive in those tier 1, 2, and 3 supports, especially at the high school level?
Okay, I appreciate that, and I'm glad you're back because I have a couple questions about the behavior data. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Are we providing professional development? And I just heard you mention professional development around de-escalation and circles. My continued issue or things that I hear in the building around locked bathrooms, punitive classroom, where a few kids, bad apples, spoil it for the entire group. And so there really is no incentive for students who are behaving well to behave well if they're going to continually be punished. I have a couple of stories of my own children who have had that experience. And so how do we shift that culture? Because if we are not, and I'm not looking for the word incentivizing, but if we have a culture where staff just shut down everyone, then it doesn't encourage anyone. And I can't say, but anecdotally, I would say classroom behaviors are also a representation of classroom management styles as well, especially in some of these buildings where we have repeat offenders. And so how do we provide professional development? Like, these are the cultures of today's youth, which are different than what they were 10, 15 years ago. And I'm not giving students a pass, but I do think if we haven't adapted our culture to the behaviors, that there will continue to be in some buildings these complete frustrations of staff and students because we have not addressed those things. Does that make sense?
It does, and part of what we are working on is the multi-tiered system of support, which leans directly into what you're stating. How are we equipping our staff, our teachers, to be able to support different behaviors that we see within and outside of our classrooms? So restorative practices is one of those professional development models that will continue to be provided to our building administrators and our staff, in addition to those tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 supportive measures that we recognize as we are outlining our professional development calendar for this upcoming year. That is one of the areas on the behavior and the discipline that additional support will be provided to. In addition to, we know that we have revised the code of conduct, but understanding that we are on the same page and understanding the language that is with our code of conduct so that we are not yielding towards punitive outcomes, but also supporting the needs and teaching. Like, we want to reteach those academic skills. We need to teach what not to do and what to do as it relates to behavioral and social emotional components.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And I had a feeling that's what you were going to say, that it fits into that bigger MTSS circle that we're still also becoming more familiar with. And then my last question is just around, I've talked a lot about staff and students. How do we, or are we planning to provide educational opportunities for parents and for the community to talk about how there is a way for all of us to be a part of this supporting students, kind of talking about MTSS, talking about the things, the circles. How can we share these things with our community so that they can also be practicing these things when they see behaviors in the community? What is there an opportunity for us in the next school year to have some of that, like educational, how to deal with your teenage child who doesn't get off of technology but says all the crazy things out their mouth? So, yes,
Great
you.
Question. And I will say our Welcome Center, we are partnering with the Welcome Center to not only support at the high level, district level of what some of these courses and classes can look like for our parents and community members, but also at the building level. The team will look to revamp what we call our curriculum nights, but how do we change and set the expectation that we standardize what some of these trainings look like for our community families, not only at our district level, but we know that we need to bring our communities within our schools because they're unique to their own demographics within each building. So that is conversations that have begun and that we will continue to look to outline and set the expectation for the upcoming school year. So thank you for asking that.
Thank you guys for all your answers. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. Ms. Drew.
To Dr. Campbell and Dr. Fernandez-Flores, when I looked at all of this information, and when I looked at it, I noticed that your data is very accurate. I want to thank you for presenting this information. It is obvious that there is a positive change happening within our school district. Our strategic plan, by your supervision and all the staff support, has let us know that there is a change that is coming within the education of our students. Presenting this presentation has given us accurate data to see the path of change across the schools. And again, I personally want to say thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Drew. Mr. Mylan, then Dr.
Yes,
Wynn.
I want to back up a little bit. Thank you, and I want to ditto what Ms. Drew said about your presentation. It's excellent, and it's a lot of information here. Just to back up a little bit from Ms. Russell was saying, when we were talking about the attendance rate, speaking from a chronic standpoint, it's my perception is very, very, and I commend you all for the relationship that's involved when you're talking about communicating with the home or the parents through experience when you're dealing with older sets of individuals, students or pupils when they get in high school. Many of them are working and they have other things going on in their lives that they have to demonstrate to, I won't say keep the house going, but just basically survive. So oftentimes I find that that has a lot to do with their attendance when they get older, and it becomes difficult for parents to encourage or press their kids to attend school when they have cars and other things going on. So it's a little different when you're dealing with elementary or middle schools. I think I'm speaking correctly. So at the high school level, it becomes a challenge. So I just want to say, stay encouraged, because it's very vital that you keep that relationship through experience with the home and with the parents as best you can with the staff you have to pursue the older students to attend school. So I just want to commend you with that, because I know it can be very, very difficult as students get older, 16, 17, 18 years old, working on weekends, taking off and doing what they're doing. So I commend you for your sacrifice and your challenge, and your numbers are excellent, and we thank you. I thank you for the information that you have provided with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mylan. Dr. Wynn.
Thank you, and I always thank you for providing us with these updates. And, you know, again, I'm being consistent. I can see on my screen that thank you is on slide 40, but I can't see the other numbers. So I apologize, I can't reference different slides, so my questions may seem like they're all over the place. You know, Ms. Russell brought up your 35%, the 35% figure that was given, and I was trying to, there's a couple of the slides that will have different rates. So I guess my question is, how did you come up with 35%?
So we capture the information for our DARE department that outlines it for us. That's the overall percentage. And so that information, the 35% is overall. When we look
All year?
Not all year.
Just the quarter?
Just the quarter.
Okay. And then, so you said, and I just want to know, and I know you didn't just start third quarter, but you made the reference that the second cohort of schools, you started utilizing Tier 1. Did I hear you correctly by saying utilizing Tier 1 and Tier 2?
Yes, with our Attend to Achieve and Attendance Works.
When did you start that?
So, that was was that the beginning of this
So we had a cohort of 20 schools who has been working with the Attend to Achieve team and Attendance Works for the last 2 years. That Community of Practice 1, has continued through this year. Community of Practice 2, which are the rest of our schools, started in September with their training. But they've had access to the Attend to Achieve team for the prior 3 years as well. The Attend to Achieve team has been there. They just didn't do the bi-monthly trainings until this year. They get 4 to 5 trainings a year in conjunction with our Attend to Achieve team and the Attendance Works team. And what we do is we provide those trainings and then we adapt based on those monthly attendance meetings happening, saying, hey, we had this September training, it's now November, and what we're seeing is a gap here. We might have the knowledge, but we're not applying the knowledge yet according to our monthly meetings that we're doing with the teams. And so that Community of Practice 2 just started this year in September.
And is there one of these series of charts that reflected that change?
So you're asking, do we have the data for the specific Community of Practice schools?
Right.
We do, yeah. So we track those separately. And so our Community of Practice 1, who's in their 3rd year of this partnership with Attendance Works and an Attend to Achieve team, and getting that really robust additional training and the coaching and doing the attendance plan, their data is different. And so I actually had that thought when Ms. Russell was speaking. We can send you our Community of Practice 1 data as well as our Community of Practice 2 so that you can see what the difference is there. So that also foreshadows where that Community of Practice 2 will be this time next year when they're finishing their 2nd year.
It is not
reflected in this. This is the universal whole district data.
And just from your knowledge, would you make an assessment? I mean, do you know of any? Okay, all right, good job.
Are the cohort 1, aren't they the CIS and the ISI? So it would be, so if we go to PowerPoint 33 or slide 33.
Where's your number? Not in the bottom of the blue?
On the top part.
Okay.
I wonder, but I guess the not identified would put everyone that's not a CSI. So maybe I'm going back on my.
That also they were identified 2 years ago. So their status might have changed in that time as well. So for a Community of Practice 1 or COP1, it was based on 2 years ago what their status was.
Okay, so in these current on slide 33, there could be new or newer?
Community of Practice 1 is still Community of Practice 1, regardless of their status. And COP2 or COP2, the ones that were not participating already, the rest of our 27 schools joined in.
Okay, but it's there.
Yes.
Yes, so Dr.
Yes,
Wynn-
but I think if I just want to make sure I don't confuse Dr. Wynn. The CSI, what?
Don't confuse them.
Well, I'm saying because I thought I had a thought that it might actually be here. But the CSI and the ISI, some of those buildings from previously 2 years ago may have rolled off of this current list.
Some did.
Or there are some who may be added based on academic needs or what have you.
You got it, that's accurate.
Sorry.
And for the public, what does CSI and what does ISI stand for?
So comprehensive school improvement and comprehensive support improvement and instructional support improvement.
And they get that designation how?
By the state.
Why?
Based upon the outcomes, student outcomes and performance.
Okay. All right. I think the other lady mentioned 80% of our first cohort have received their training in letters. How many still have to have that training? And what's the timeline for that, please?
We have 540 teachers in cohort 1, and if my calculator
That have
helps
completed?
me, that means
Okay.
540 times 0.7 minus 5. About 140 teachers are still wrapping up, and it's an 8-unit process, so they might be finishing unit 8 and or wrapping up their last final assessment. And so we are very close to getting our staff at 100%. Our staff was provided Wednesday professional development time to complete the learning and the practice. So they've had school time to be able to complete all of that. And they have one Wednesday left to finish executing on that training.
How many were in cohort 2 that are finishing up?
Cohort 2 had 72. And
thought I
so
heard you
cohort
say
2
100
is,
number.
the people, cohort 1 is 540. Cohort 2 is 72. Cohort 3 is about 40. And these are staff that are new to our system. So after we started letters, some teachers left the system and we have newer teachers join the system. So that's how we have now a cohort 2. And so that's approximately 72 staff. And then cohort 3, which came on board this year, we have about 40 staff in that group. And so as we onboard new staff, we're going to continue to provide the support of structured literacy for them as well. And so, yes, that's where we're at.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One thing I'll add, because this is common across the state, as we get, depending on new teachers, as they come in, they may be coming from a district that they've already received the letters training, so we can assess that. So the cohorts, some years may be bigger or larger or not necessarily match the number of teachers that are exiting the system because so many districts are providing the letters training. So we just have to find a way to confirm that they actually completed it, and then we can support as appropriate.
Great. I just had two more generic questions. One is that, do we take practice assessment tests?
We take benchmark assessments quarterly.
So we do take the practice ones. Are there benchmarks of practice ones?
No. So the benchmark assessments, I don't know if you paid attention. I mean, I don't know where the state actually landed. Dr. Conrad would know. The benchmark assessment, KCK and Olathe were partnering to do some work around that, and it was presented to the state board, I believe, in March or April. And KSDE and the state board the direction they may be going. If you're referring to, I can't think of the name, the interim assessments, I'm not sure if schools are doing it or some may be doing it individually.
It varies by school. Individual schools decide whether they will engage students with the interims. However, our benchmark assessments are delivered through KITE, which is the platform that the state uses. And so all of our students are familiar with get familiarized with the platform and the tools in the state that are used by the state through our benchmarks.
So help me understand what you just said. Some of our schools take the practice test?
Some of our schools take practice tests. It's a school-based decision.
Okay, so do you have any data from those schools, whether those practice tests helped or didn't help?
I don't have that data.
Is anyone gathering that data?
Yes. Yeah, we can
explore
look
that.
at it
Okay.
and see if when we look at this year's CAP assessments, we can look and see how those schools did in comparison to others. And if we know last year, we can also look at it over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it came up as a criticism that they are available, and then it didn't. This senator was able to use it as kind of a hammer that you've got 4 times at least to take the practice. You don't do it. Yeah. I was just asking. And last but not least. When the students are suspended, are they provided, and I've asked this question 100 times, and I think I know that I've gotten 100 answers, but I can't remember right now. Are they provided their homework when they're suspended, short-term suspended or whatever, to keep them on track?
So that's another
Department.
It's not another department, but it's school-based decisions based upon what the suspension entailed, the expectations of that building. What I will say, you typically would, if you're suspended for an extended amount of time, you would have the opportunity to complete that work and turn in those assignments. What that model looks like is systematic. It is not.
So again, if I understand you correctly, if I'm suspended, however, depending on the type of suspension I receive,
Right.
it is up to the school whether I get my for lack of a better word, homework or not?
So let me clarify. The alternative to suspend program, which is within our district and is at another building, the work does go with those students during that time. But if you're talking about like an out-of-school suspension based upon how many days, which can vary, anywhere from 0 to 10 and long-term, that is kind of a school-based decision as it relates to how the work is obtained by the student, if it's up front, if it's once the student returns. So I cannot speak systematically because we don't have a systemized process, because as a building, those are individual models that need to be collaborated with a team based upon that student's needs.
Right. Thank you, and I'll just ask you a great question. If then, do we have a policy dealing with suspension, number one, and then would then it take a policy to deal with assignments being, since it is a systematic, since it doesn't exist systematically?
So, well, Greg, we do have policy. I will say that while it may not be systemic and consistent, we can make it systemic and consistent, because my expectation would be that students have access. They do have access to Canvas. What they would be missing is that in-person instruction, but they should not be penalized academically for work that they're submitting because they do have access to it. I see a couple of the EDs nodding. I think that may be more of the, so I just didn't want that to linger, that students don't have the opportunity. They absolutely, similar to absences as well, they have the opportunity to, and the expectation should be that they are completing the work. Yeah.
And I appreciate that, and that is what we all hope for. But my question to Greg is to ensure that it is understood, does it take a policy?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you want something district-wide as a directive for what is or is not allowed during a suspension or expulsion, that would be a board policy.
Thank you. There you go. Mr. Lopez.
Thank you.
I would refer to, she was getting ready to talk.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think the bigger, like, while we have system-wide issues, then we come down to the school level, and then we get down to the classroom, where there are some classroom teachers who don't allow for that work to be turned in. And that is a bigger conversation, which would make me want to be in favor of policy that says this is our board policy around out-of-school suspensions. And so the classroom teacher, just because in their syllabus it says you have 2 weeks to turn in the work. Well, if I'm not here and I don't understand the work that I'm turning in, there needs to be some type of grace in order for me to have that opportunity to Ms. Dr. Stubblefield's point, to get some type of instruction from you around what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I think it is a bigger conversation, but thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brownlee-Page.
Okay. Thank you all for what you've done. I want to start with that. My concern is when I see the number of Blacks and Hispanics who are being suspended, and I just, after attending this session yesterday with the kids, I met 2 young men. And I think they just kind of picked them up and brought them there, which I was glad they came. But they kept saying that they didn't know how to say what they wanted to say and that they needed help. They said they needed help with mental issues, how to speak, how to do their work, and they just didn't feel they were getting that, and they didn't know how to express it. So I heard you say, Dr. Campbell, that you're going to reach out to people in the community, and I think we're going to have to do that in order for it to work. You just can't do it by yourself. So I'm asking, please, there are fraternities, sororities. We have the Ministers Baptist Union for the Baptist Church that I know of. And for our Hispanic brothers and sisters, we got to reach out to every organization and bring them in to help these kids, because they wanted help. You know, we had to prod it out of them, and they were decent young men. One even said, well, do you know where I can get a job? And they want help, but they don't know how to ask for it. and how to deal with things. And if there's, especially for the young men, I think we need to do what we can to get men in the community, those who can and who will, to come in and assist and help, because they need to see themselves. I'm not knocking any teacher in the district, but if we're going to be honest and real, you need to see yourself. I'm not saying that Ms. Scott doesn't care. She can help me so far, but maybe I need to see somebody that looks like me, that may understand me a little better. I'm not saying she doesn't understand me, but I need to hear something else. I need to see myself. So if there's some way that they can see themselves, and here, it may not be in the classroom, somebody who's assisting can come in and help them make it, because they need some help. Good guys, they just need some help. They want to work. Some of them even talk, we have data that substantiates it about if kids are involved in extracurricular activities, they're coming to school. But if we don't have buses that can, that's another issue too, but they spoke about wanting to be involved, but they didn't have transportation home. So if there's any way we can work that out, that may be a way to get them involved. If they know they can participate and there's a bus to take them home, we need to do what we can to keep them involved. And they want to be, but sometimes they don't know how to express themselves. And I know you said you guys are working on that, but I'd like to see more of that, because I think that can help reduce the numbers. Because when you see that, that's startling and that's mind-boggling. And we just can't keep looking at it like, well, you know, they got a problem. Well, why do they have a problem? And we got to figure it out. Because if 35%, what's going on at home, or have we identified all the reasons for that 35%? But I just think we need to reach out to our communities and pull in whoever we can. And we're not just pulling anybody, but investigate, do the background check, so that they can help these kids, because they need to see themselves. That's what they're missing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Clark?
I will make mine pretty short and sweet. Thank you for the presentation today. One of the things that I do have a huge interest in kind of goes back to the classroom and how do we make sure that we are accommodating everyone, which is no different than what we've heard. We've also talked about like how we're equipping our teachers to have what they need. I think my comment to that would be also not only equipping our teachers, but if the struggle continues, like what does that look like for that student if that traditional classroom setting is just not working? Because we have to have standards, right? So there has to be a standard at some point. And so if that student is not able to be in that classroom, or just making sure we're providing the resources that they need to be able to gather their education in a way that works for them, it would be kind of my comment. And then my other thing is a question more of what is it that you need from the board? We have a lot of conversation, we have a lot of input, we have a lot of opinions, but as we are talking through budgets and goals and all those different things, if there's something that you need from us, I think we would be open, and I can't speak for the board, but I think we would be open to hearing what that is so that you're not working in a space of I think. This is what the board would support us through. So I just think that these are big enough topics for us to be involved, to help you through those things. And so that would be, I have a page full of notes, but that would be my last comment today. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Additional comments, questions? I know there was some really great discussion, and there are some follow-up items and questions that were kind of left. And so if we could just follow up with the board with any of those pieces around absenteeism and the data that was shared around academic data and panorama, and then I think the ongoing conversation around policy implications around suspensions. So those are some things that we'll continue to lift up. So thank you again, Dr. Campbell and team, for the information. And
thank you.
If you have additional questions, please submit those, and we'll make sure we get that to everyone. Right. We'll continue with our agenda. Next on our agenda, our communications. We will hear from our superintendent of schools, Dr. Anna Stubblefield.
Good morning. I am pulling up a few quick announcements. Just one second. Good morning. I want to give a quick shout out to the KCKPS Police Department. This is Police Week, as we recognize National Police Week. They keep our students safe and our community safe and are always ready to lend a helping hand. I also want to just say May probably has more weeks and celebrations, so I think I have them all. I also want to acknowledge that is Asian American and Pacific Islander Recognition Month, and several of our schools have done things to celebrate that, so we acknowledge and celebrate that as well. It is also Mental Health Month. We celebrated Nurses Week, Teacher Appreciation, and Employee and Staff Appreciation. If I left any of them off, charge it to my head, not my heart. But when we say we celebrated employee, we were celebrating everyone. So thank you. We know May comes fast and furious, and we appreciate everything that each of our employees does to help us get better every day. I also want to thank the Human Resources Department for their hard work and the planning of the activities during last week. We had lots of staff members who won lots of prizes in conjunction with our partners who provided those prizes, and they look forward, several of the staff members look forward to the bingo competition annually. The district is currently accepting transfer/permit applications. The last day to fill it out is July 24th. For more information, you can contact our Welcome Center. I do want to clarify that the open enrollment period for non-district students will, that window will overlap this window, but our students, as they come in where there is space, we will prioritize them. And then when it's simultaneously, we will look at what's available if we have any out of district students. For those placements, particularly for Sumner Academy, out of district students do have to meet those requirements that are also required by our students. We got a couple of questions about that, so I just wanted to clarify that. Then I also want to ask you to join the Welcome Center team to learn more about resources, service, and programs that are available to our students and families at the Unity in the Community event to be held on Thursday, May 16th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Central Office. Myself and actually the student service team, Naomi Tolatina, Tracy Chauvin, and I believe Dr. Wilson and that team was reached out to by a committee with the White House and to ask to share the work that we've done around chronic absenteeism. And tomorrow, myself and Naomi have been invited to the White House to collaborate with other districts who are tackling this. So we will be traveling there for one day and then participating in a collaboration from districts across the country. It is a real testament to the work that we've started to do, but what it will help us to do is to figure out what's next for our district as we talk to like systems who have either made some progress or we can share what we've done, but it will create a collaborative partnership for those individuals that were invited. And finally, I again want to say thank you to all of the community members who came out and voted regarding the bond. We appreciate the dialogue and the engagement that we had during the bond conversation, and we plan to continue that and to expand it because we do need to hear those voices, and whatever it looks like or whatever it takes, there will be specific opportunities outside of the community vision team for community members to dialogue with myself and the district leadership team as we launch our, in a couple of weeks, our superintendent advisory committee that will include parents and community stakeholders. So that may be a group that's, as we continue this conversation, that we can engage. So thank you to everyone who voted.
Thank you, Dr. Stubblefield, and I'll try to roll through some of these pretty quickly. You covered some. I just want to give a shout out to the Diploma Plus team for all of the work that you put on the Diploma Plus showcase last week. Amazing. If you had a chance to go, hopefully you've seen some pictures. If you didn't, it was great to be able to see some of the students. In particular, I got to interact with Miss part of those students over at Washington, some of the teaching fellows from Sumner, the Wyandotte Culinary team, the Enough is Enough team from Schlegel. Ton of great students. Just shout out to all the staff who helped make that happen, but also to the students for their hard work and their effort to showcase some of the amazing things that they're doing in our district. So just kudos to all of you and your teams for that great work. I did want to lift up, and I kept forgetting to mention this last month, but April was National Bilingual and Multilingual Learner Advocacy Month. And as we know, we've got a great dual language program here. We have over 60 languages spoken in our community, in our district. And we offer interpretation at all of our board meetings. And as we look across the metro area, not everyone does the things that we're doing around language access. And so just shout out to Ms. Rodriguez and her team for the work that you do to make sure that we have that available in all different languages, not just at district office, but at the schools, to make sure that we're being welcoming and inclusive of all of our families. So thank you for the work that you all continue to do. And as we lift up our multilingual learners, and I think there's still time to enroll in the dual language program. There's still a few spots available if anyone would like to have their students enroll in that program. And I'm looking forward to the growth of that program next year as well. Another shout out to the Excellence in Education Awards that happened last week. Great to see over 300 students, scholars who were celebrated for all the work that they're doing. Their families were so proud. It was so amazing to see them walk across the stage from our earliest learner, early childhood to high schoolers, dressed to the T's and just so excited. Their families were excited. It was amazing to be a part of that. And shout out to Miss Russell, because it was part of your vision when you first lifted that up 2 years ago, I think it was, or maybe before that. So just thank you for continuing to advocate for how we can celebrate student achievement and part of your vision. And I think it was great to see that come to fruition. So thank you for your leadership and everyone who's been involved in that, all the team, Miss Watson and her entire team at the foundation. I was just so proud to see that. So thank you, Rachel, for continuing to advocate for that. Yesterday, we had our Student World Cafe, about 100 students, middle school, high school students who came, and Ms. Brownlee Page referenced it, who came and shared just who they were with their thoughts and what they wanted to see from us. It was a great opportunity for us to hear from them and to listen and for them to share their voice. I think one key takeaway for some of the students I spoke to is, hey, they really matter. Their voice actually matters. And I think sometimes we can take that for granted. And I think that was something that they were appreciative to have a space where the adults were just listening. And their voices were the ones that were prevalent. So thank you for everyone, and especially on short notice in May, for making that happen. It took a lot of hands and a lot of folks to make that happen. So thank you to all of our staff, especially during graduation week. So shout out to all of you who made that happen. This Sunday, and I know we've got graduations going on, so we may not be able to attend, but I did want to share, there's a dramatic script reading of a play which was inspired by the story of the Mexican-American Saturnino Alvarado, who's in Argentina. The gym is named after him, and his fight against school segregation in Wyandotte County. And it's written by one of our very own KCK-PS graduates, Gary Enrique Bradley Lopez, and it's happening at the Wyandotte County Historical Museum this Sunday at 2 p.m. for anyone that's interested. We'll make sure that information's out there. Dr. Gene Chavez reached out and shared that information, so I told him I would share that with everyone as well. Tomorrow we've got the Listening Club end of year celebration that's happening as well, so really excited to be a part of that. And then again, just graduations coming this week, and congratulations to all of our seniors, all of our graduates, to your families, to the staff who helped get you there. So many people, as we always say, it takes a village, right? So just congratulations to all of you, but such a proud weekend that we have upcoming for all of our scholars. So thank you to everyone who's had a hand in that, and just can't wait to see and hear the amazing things. We've truly got some amazing students here in our district, so really excited to see this next part of their journey for them. So with that, I'll open it up for any other board members who want to share. Ms. Russell.
Yes, I will echo all of those things, but I don't think I heard Dr. Stubblefield say how many fifth graders were faster than you.
I think this year there were a few more faster than me this year, but I will say the top 30, in conjunction with the fire department, they get a special breakfast on Monday. But I think it was like 280 or something like that. It was a lot more faster than me.
Thanks for humoring me. I was like, she sure left that out of her speech. But I also just want to echo a lot of the things that have already been said. It's really, May is one of my favorite times as a school board member to be in buildings, field day, third grade fitness, all of the concerts and all of the things. It's really a great opportunity to see all the amazing things that our kids have done, students, to get to this point. But of course, my most favorite event is this weekend with graduation. And so I'm looking forward to joining our students and their families for this momentous occasion, because if there's anything that we do well, it is graduating students. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what their futures hold. But also, on a sadder note, I would like for us all to take a moment of silence for Miss Mathia Kelsey, who recently passed. And if there's anything I know about community, she was an advocate for community. She was a supporter. She showed up for kids, not even just her own, but for all kids, because she was passionate about the work that KCKPS does. And I know that she holds a special place in my heart as a person who has been by my side for most of my time in KCKPS. But if we could take a moment of silence for her, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
I went to Arrowhead, and I was really proud of them because May is Asian History Month, and Ms. Hurley and her staff, they put together a phenomenal program, and our Asian students were proud, and all the kids were involved, and just want to give her a tremendous shout out for that, and want to thank Dr. Campbell and her staff for her Aspiring Principals program. We have some phenomenal people who are coming out of that program, and I think they're going to make great principals, vice principals, what have you. Also participated in teacher negotiations. The Student Cafe was excellent. Hopefully, we'll take a little bit more time so we can get all the schools represented. I did attend 2 community meetings, and again, if you voted no for the bond, it doesn't mean that you don't care about schools. And I hope we will take the time to hear those in the community who pay property taxes and who are concerned. They want nothing but the best for our kids, but you do have to look at that. So I hope they will be reached out to, and we can work it out and we can come to a compromise. You can't do everything, but we can do something, and we can work together on it. And then we lost a teacher at Argentine. You know, we want to remember her as well and keep that school in our prayers. Because when you work in the school or work in any environment, you hate to lose staff members and then someone so young. So, and what we do is stressful, but we need to lift each other up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brownlee-Page. Ms. Clark.
Thank you. Like many others or our board, I was able to attend the Student Cafe on yesterday, and I'll just repeat, it was amazing to hear from our students. Secondly, I was able to attend the carnival at Laurel Bruni. The students had a lot of fun dunking their principal as he's getting ready to exit. So lots of fun, lots of local food trucks, really good time there. And then I know we have a lot of sad news, but I would also mention we lost Alex Chapman, who has been involved with a lot of our students in some type of way through coaching, born and raised here. And so just want to make sure we recognize that he's contributed to our community a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Yes, Dr. Nguyen.
Again, thank you to parents who have graduates, and I know they are super happy They finally made that mark, whatever they're going to seek to accomplish. And then attended the Student Cafe yesterday and really had a group that was quite vocal. Dr. Campbell and the other lady have the notes from it, and hopefully to Mr. Lopez and the board that we're able to have a time to sit down and after we verify some of their comments, I mean, their comments were from A to Z, but if we can when we verify their comments, there are policy implications based on what they said. So, and you made a point, respond in a timely manner. So we cannot take a year to say, oh yeah, by the way, we heard your voice. No, they are rightfully impatient. And these were juniors and others. These weren't seniors. Seniors probably running to the door. But nevertheless, congratulations to all staff that I know as a faculty, May is a great month. Has a lot of work, but we're ready for graduation. And the students are ready to get rid of us. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nguyen. Yes, Ms. Drew.
Just wanted to say that several of the events that they've mentioned, I wasn't in attendance, but I wanted to mention that on April 26th, I went to Washington High School for their ROTC program, where they awarded the students to be able to continue in that, and I was very impressed with that. Also, want to commend the board that we've been having several retreats so that we can work collectively together and move in the right direction. And with that, I want to say thank you to everyone within the district who is working in any avenue that as we collectively work together, we will achieve what we want to do to be better every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Drew. Mr. Milan.
Yes, I want to ditto from yesterday as well, from the Student Cafe, and commend those responsible for it and participating in a great way. And also the community cafe we had several months before. This is coming from me. You know, when people talk, they got something to say. When students speak, they got something to say. And you know, it tells us, he that has an ear, let him hear. And I just find when we come together with students and parents, well, basically the students and the pupil, because that's what we're concerned about as educators. You all, it can be difficult because it's about sacrifice. Many of you do sacrificing your time, and it's not about a money thing. And regardless of how we looked at how the bond issue went, we have a responsibility, you know, as educators. And I'm saying this from my standpoint. We have to listen to our students. They come from different backgrounds. Their home life is not like ours in a way. Have been, and what I take from this, what I want to say, the positive that came from yesterday, the ideas that we, and I'm glad Ms. Clark said that, what we as a board can do to help the cause, to help to solidify, bring forth some positive influences in the community and in the district. There's work to do. We got to listen. It's me and everyone around here, because folks saying something, and individuals say something that it's impressionable to them. And our group, we had a mixed group of students. Fairfax group, they spoke a little differently than the Slagle group, individual students. And then in the Sumner individuals, they spoke a little different. And I'm listening to them, and some things that are loud, y'all know the story, some things that are going on in Sumner is not going on in Fairfax. And the ones at Fairfax Academy, they feel they're missing out. So I'm saying all that, but you know what? They're all 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade students. They're all human beings, and they're all striving to be better for the community. So you got to listen to the Fairfax group, you got to listen to the Sumner group, you got to listen to the Slagle group. And oftentimes you get different feedback from all over, but still, when it comes to the bottom line, they're students. They're young folks trying to do better, doing what they have to be a positive influence in the community. So I'm saying that we have to listen, because it's not about us, it's about them. So I'm just saying that for me and all of us is to stay encouraged, because there's a job to do, and it's never about us. So I just want to say, take what has happened from yesterday, listen to the students, which I think we need to do more of, because it involves them. Amen. So that's why I just want to say, I did say that, didn't I? Amen.
We're going to pass the
Amen, Pastor, amen.
I can't help who I am.
We're going to pass the collection tray here in a minute, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mylan. I appreciate everything you shared. As you can see, the board is very active and involved. May is a fun month, a great month of celebrations, and lots of stories to tell. And I think that's one takeaway that I continue to have after board meetings is all the positive narrative that we have in our district, the great things happening. We saw that in some of the reports today. We heard that from the board today. And so I just think, like, how do we continue to share our story of the great successes that we're having, the celebrations from some of the schools that were recognized this morning, our teachers, our counselors, great things happening in KCKPS, and we need to continue to elevate those pieces. And I would just echo, again, thank you to everybody who came out to vote. Regardless of how you voted, we need to come together to have further conversation. We need to hear from folks who voted no, hear from folks who voted yes, because there is work that needs to continue to happen in our district with our facilities. So thank you to everybody for advocating for the best for our kids. And then I know Dr. Stubblefield mentioned it already, kind of, but I would just say it's not every day that you get invited to the White House. And so I think that's another story to tell for this district, that we, as a district, leadership, our department, our student services department, and the work that you all are putting into this work, they'll be the first to tell you that we have a ways to go around chronic absenteeism as well, and attendance. But not everyone got invited to attend the White House for this summit and present on the work. And so I think that's a story that we lift up, and hopefully some media picks up on that and we can share that story about some of the great work we're doing, because I think it's pretty amazing that we get to do that and share the Kansas City, Kansas story at the White House as well. So just wanted to lift that up, because I think that's a pretty big deal. All right. Thank you, board members, for being so active. Thank you, staff, for always doing the best for our kids. With that, we will come to our executive session portion of our agenda. Would entertain a motion to recess to executive session to discuss matters of non-elected personnel in order to protect the privacy interests of all parties involved under COMA for 10 minutes, going in at 10:55.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Ms. Smith, roll call.
Anybody to be included?
I'm sorry, yes. Thank you.
Dr. Laurie, Ms. Devon, Mr. Lilly, and Dr. Campbell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Smith, roll call.
Yolanda Clark, Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy, yes.
Robert Mylan Jr.,
Allen Jr., yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
When yes.
Thank you.
And the rest of the staff, you are free to go. Thank you.
Motion to return to open session, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. Smith?
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy, yes.
Robert Mylan Jr.,
Allen Jr., yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell, Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to approve the first hearing officer's report?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Ms. Smith?
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy, yes.
Robert Mylan Jr.,
Allen Jr., yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell, Dr. Nguyen. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the second report from the hearing officer?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? Ms. Smith?
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Robert Mylan Jr.,
Allen Jr., yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell, Dr. Nguyen. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, board. Thank you, staff. This meeting's adjourned.